we've got the two teams out in front of the members' grandstand. We're going to have the President of the Australian Rugby League, Mr. Ken Arthurson, and the Federal Minister for Sport, Mr. John Brown, come out to be introduced to both teams. Mr. Bob Abbott there, just leading Mr. John Brown out with Mr. Ken Arthurson, and going across to the Great Britain side, the tourists. They'll have the honour of meeting the dignitaries first. And coming across to greet them and to do the introductions, Mr. Dick Gemmell, the former England Test centre and tour manager for the Great Britain party. So going to the head of the line, and we're Brian Naval. There's Drummond there. He'll be a player to watch. He's a real pocket dynamo. Gary Schofield there. Next to him, the other centre, the experienced Keith Mumby. Youthful Lee Crooks. He's got a job to do. Also second rower Chrissy Burton. That's Ellery Hanley. 5'8" Des Foy. He was the surprise selection, and only a very young man. Second rower Mick Worrell, and that's the fullback Mick Burke. Prop forward and second rower Andy Goodway. Finally the halfback Neil Holding. He did a good job to gain selection in this match, because Neil Holding came out here, probably Mr. Frank Myler, he's the coach of the team, being introduced to Mr. Brown. Just going back to Neil Holding, it was largely expected, I think, when the Great Britain team departed, that the more experienced Andy Gregory would take the number 7 jersey in the first Test match, but Neil Holding turned in a very fine performance in their last tour match in Newcastle, and that performance alone guaranteed him a spot of starting. As Wally Lewis, the Australian captain, for the first time in a Test match, and that's good to see. He's been knocking on the door for a long time. Ross Conlon, the goal-kicking winger. Gary Jack, Balmain fullback. That's Gene Miles, been in superb form, the winner Manly centre this year. Dave Brown, another one of the Queensland contingent, although he's based in Sydney. Brett Kenny. He'll probably relish the movement back to centre. Mark Murray, you'll see plenty of him in the game, good player. Kerry Bowstead, just short of becoming one of the highest try scorers for Australia. Greg Canescu. Good story to be told about young Greg Canescu on the Kangaroo Tour. He didn't get many opportunities because Max Krilich and Ray Brown were preferred in the hooking role. And Greg Canescu, in fact, played most of his matches on the tour in the second row and did an outstanding job. Chris Close, good to see him in the side, and Craig Young, the two reserves. Now the national anthem for Great Britain. two splendid renditions there from the Marching Kangaroos, the band that's come down from the Marching Koalas, I'm sorry, 150-piece band that's come down from Newcastle. The Australian team, and a lot of Queenslanders in that side. The most interesting selections, though, of the halves, Wally Lewis and Mark Murray, and also the front row with young Greg Dowling being brought in for his first Test match with Dave Brown, the more senior of the Queensland prop forwards. But no doubt about it, the main influence in this team is going to be that of Wally Lewis. He's been in superb touch for years and years and years, and now finally gets his chance as the Australian captain. The Great Britain side, the youngest ever to leave the shores of Great Britain, and despite their youth, they have shown that they're a team to watch, and you'll see plenty of them, especially in defence in this game. And one wonders about the influence that Brian Noble will have, the skipper, the youngest skipper ever for Great Britain, and he's got the job of inspiring his team here today and also winning his share of ball from the scrums. And under the international rules, we've got a neutral referee, Ray Shrimpton from Auckland in New Zealand, getting the game underway as Great Britain kicks off, and Australia, to defend the northern end of the ground, have got Ray Price in possession with Greg Cornescu going into dummy half. That's Dowling, took the ball high. The Australians are favoured for this match because of their performance during the 1982 Kangaroo Tour, when they returned undefeated, the first touring team ever to do so. And look at those scores in the 3 Test series, Australia winning convincingly in every one of them, but this Test today is going to be a lot different. We've had the first penalty of the match awarded. It's gone to Australia with the Great Britain side found offside. And Gary, it's good to see that the referee very early in the match is starting to assert his control.
That's the most important aspect to enable the backlines to use their talent, and this referee has run right across field and given that early penalty. It'll be interesting to see if the Australians infringe in that area as well very early in the game.
Well, the Australians had a bit of a move worked on there, but didn't come off, with the Great Britain defence moving up very quickly. Ray Price, and that's Brian Niebling, the second rower. And make no mistake about it, this Great Britain's forward pack is hitting hard. They're making no mistakes with their defence, one low, one high, and putting the ball carrier to the ground. And it's one thing, look at that, 2 in on the tackle again. It's one thing Frank Myler will have instilled on the defence of Great Britain. Don't let the Australians stand up and offload the ball. Brett Kenny floating a beautiful pass to Bowstead. He's got Drummond to beat and can't do it. That's Ellery Hanley, in fact, is marking Bowstead. Kenny dummy half. Hanley pushing him into touch. And that'll be the first scrum of the match to go down midway between the Great Britain quarter line and halfway. Back downfield, we had 2 players, Mick Worrell and Kerry Bowstead, not realising that play had been whistled at. The scrum feed, unlike England, is going to be taken on the blind side of the scrum here. Neil Holding, nearly beaten with the ball by Murray, but Holding will play it. Nick Adams, and there's a bit of a stoush on. We've got the 2 sets of forwards becoming involved now. Play on. The ball's gone right across field. We've got players involved in individual skirmishes. They're moving in from both sides. They've forgotten the football now. And the referee blowing the whistle frantically and having a lot of trouble in pulling this up. And there are still some players there rather reluctant to end the fight, and I don't know how anyone's going to sort that out. It came from the play of the ball in the scrum, and as Holding dived on the ball, you see the scrum in the background just opens up, and there are a few swinging fists that started it. The referee and the touch judges have got the task of sorting this out, and Gary Cook in the Test match, and you've had the experience a number of times, it must be a difficult thing to do when you've got this sort of incident confronting you so early in a big important game.
Well, and the tensions are built up. Obviously they've been breathing fire in the dressing room before they've gone out. Both teams, they're tensed up. I hope that they've got it out of their system now, and there's not much a referee can do in the circumstances but to tell them he's not going to tolerate it continuing during the game.
Great pleasure to have with us today a man who knows a great deal about English rugby league, and that's Mike Stevenson, former England hooker. And Mike, that's a different start to Australia Great Britain Test matches than we've seen in the past.
It certainly is. It was expected. It's been building up all the tour, actually. A lot of the media in Australia, they stated that they wouldn't be able to match it with the Australians. And there's a lot of fire out there. Dave Brown, very lucky there not to give a penalty away. A rather unusual decision there.
Well, we're going to have a scrum. Not being able to find guilt to be apportioned to either side, so it's a scrum and a penalty. It won't. It'll be marched in field. And that is a penalty.
I think it's an incorrect feed, Alan. We do have to get used to some slightly different signals from the visiting referee, but it did appear to be an incorrect feed.
Yes, certainly the way the ball went into the scrum, Gary. I was just looking at the signal myself, trying to interpret it, and wondered whether or not he was actually signalling there was a hand down in the scrum, but it wouldn't have mattered because the ball didn't go in correctly anyway.
It certainly didn't.
Hanley from the wing, and he's upended with a great tackle there from Wayne Pearce. That's a top tackle. Prop forward Lee Crooks. One Australian had hold of his shorts and the other his jersey. Must have thought it was beach weather. Second rower Chris Burton running wide of the ruck. Oh, and that's a nice boot in the face. And Burton will be penalised for that. Wally Lewis just lying on his back on the ground, and that had to be a penalty. And in fact, right in front of the referee, I'm surprised that that's all that's resulted.
Well, it's certainly surprising. This was bare-faced. He stood up. Wally Lewis standing there, or lying there, I should say. And there's the boot, straight down. I think it landed on the shoulder, Alan, and really, he's very lucky he's still out there.
Lewis, they're standing very deep, Australia. Gary Jack to Wayne Pearce, who's dropped it. Gary Jack recovers to force the knock on. And in fact, it's a penalty further downfield.
Interesting to see the way that the referee, Ray Shrimpton from New Zealand, is interpreting offside play. He's intending to wait until the ball has run right along the back line. If I can interpret him correctly, he's waiting for an advantage to be won or lost, and he's then giving the penalty. It's really not the way that the Australians are used to the interpretation, and perhaps, Mike, you might be able to let us know whether the English team, in a moment, you might let us know what the interpretation is over there.
Yes, well, he's obviously allowing a lot of latitude in the first 10 minutes.
Ross Conlon with an opportunity to put Australia in front. 25 metres out, straight in front. He's kicked from here so often, he knows it like the back of his hand, and Australia goes to the lead of 2 points to 0.
Well, that's a nice start for the Australian, especially by Ross Conlon making his debut this afternoon. But a bad miss by the fullback Mike Burke.
Very little breeze here today, but conditions quite dark. We've had lovely sunshine here, about 10 or 11 days of continual sunshine in Sydney. The Great Britain players must feel at home today. Here's Mark Murray, a good run. That's a good weaving run by the Queensland half. Canescu. Niebling to Lewis. Price. Back to halfway, or to the quarter line, I should say. Now the Australians on the attack. Wayne Pearce had Gary Jack with him, but couldn't unload it. Out wide is Niebling. Canescu. Murray. Lewis on the burst is Miles. Lewis a kick ahead, for a beautiful kick. And it's a touched in goal. The referee said it's knocked forward by the Australians, and that was so close to being a try. That went ever so close, with Lewis putting the little kick up ahead. Gene Miles came through, got his hands to the ball and just beaten to it by Mick Adams. And although it was touched down by Lewis, it had been knocked forward by Australia. Holding. Little kick, chasing it through. The Australians getting back. Price is there first. Isn't he a remarkable player, this Ray Price? Jack. Up to halfway. Canescu. Dowling. Canescu again. Murray. Lewis. And gives it away. Niebling, the second rower. He's been playing the ball forward and gets a penalty because he found the markers offside. Conlon kicking to the Randwick end of the ground, gets it high in the air. It's swinging, but the wrong way. So halfback holding. Well, holding in a lot of pain. He was tackled by Bosted and second rower Wayne Pearce. Let's see if we can pick up what happened here. And nothing really to see from that angle. This is Goodway. He's 10 metres out from his own line. Back to fullback Burke. His kick is just over halfway. Gary Jack, who really is a scintillating player when running with the ball. I hope we get a chance to see some of that today. Price. Joe Lydon on the touchline getting ready to come on should holding be taken from the field. Murray. Good run by Muppet. One of the most popular members on the 82 Kangaroo Tour. Didn't get his chance in the test over there. Lewis making a beautiful break, putting Pearce through the gap, and Pearce gets it back to Lewis, who's over under the posts. Wally Lewis, it's a special. Mark Murray started it, and it took his Queensland captain Wally Lewis to finish it when Wayne Pearce couldn't make the distance. And here's that try.
Yes, well, a good play by Lewis. He's standing well back, giving himself plenty of room, take the step. And of course, notice with the halfback of the Great Britain off the field, no sweeper, left for Burke. A good play by Pearce, held his cool, and the captain over for a great try for Australia. Great boost for them.
Conlon from right in front converts, and Australia go away to a very good lead now. Here's that try from side on, and you'll notice that after Murray made the break, Wally Lewis in fact drew the fullback, but he may have passed just a fraction early there because Burke was able to get across and get Pearce, but it didn't really matter because Lewis had stayed on side and pushed his way over. On the burst is Dave Brown. Price, Lewis, away he goes, bursting down the middle, supporting Pearce. Good pass. Ray Price to play it, 18 metres out, Finescu, Murray. Dowling's pass out to Miles. And a nice tackle too by Goodway. This is Dowling. Good ball away to Murray. My word, hasn't Greg Dowling shown up in the opening minutes of this game? He's taken off where the other Wynnum Manly prop Rod Morris left off. Lewis, pressure for the Great Britain defence. Bosted coming through. Bosted can't get there. That little kick by Lewis caught Great Britain by surprise. They were moving up in defence. Lewis didn't run it. A little chip kick through, and Bosted only needed a good bounce, but he couldn't get around Hanley. That was his problem, and fullback Burke got across. Miles and Bosted the defenders. Keith Mundy is dummy half, and that's the halfway line. Crooks. 4 Australians in the tackle. Just under 7 minutes to go before half-time. Joe Lydon. And it was kept in play, but not as Australia wanted. Ross Conlon got a hand to it. And if anything, all he succeeded to do is knocking the ball back closer to his own goal line.
Well, here's the kick. Watch, and this is a crucial error by Conlon, because this will give Great Britain the feed and the loose head. See it touch his hand? He failed to keep it infield as well as failing to catch it.
Penalty to Great Britain, and it's against Murray for not retiring. And it points out the error by Conlon that Gary spoke of. And a bad knock on. In fact, it went backwards. This is Foy, showing a good step. Tackler is Dave Brown. Back to Noble. This is Des Drummond. Noble going from dummy half. He's very close. Watch Drummond. And there's a penalty right in front to Great Britain. The Australians were not retired to their own goal line, but I suppose as far as they're concerned, conceding a chance for 2 points is better than giving away 6.
Yes, I think quite frankly that the English team would have been unhappy with this penalty. There was a real opportunity. They were lined out nicely there for that backline movement, and all of a sudden they got a penalty. But of course they'll be happy to have the opportunity of at least getting points on the board before half-time.
So Mick Burke is not far to the right of the posts, but he raises the flags for Great Britain's first points in this match. They come up 3.5 minutes before half-time, and Australia leads 8 points to 2. Australia restart very, very quickly, trying to catch Great Britain out of position. A little bit of soccer in goal there by Hanley. He didn't get a hand to it, so it's not a knock-on. Brian Noble. Crooks. Got the Cumberland throw there, and Price will be penalised for a trip. Crooks wants to go on with it. Well, this is what Ray Price has perfected. The trouble is he didn't get his body in there first. He just put the foot out. The laws on tripping in rugby league are quite specific. There is nothing to prevent a player using his legs to bring down an opponent, provided it's done within the scope of the rules.
And that means that he has to make contact with the player with his hands first. He must attempt the tackle with his hands before the foot comes into contact with the player.
Andy Goodway should not have been allowed to get away from that. Full marks to his own persistence, but you can't really credit much to the Australian defence. This is Burton. Nice tackle. Wally Lewis. Adams. Schofield. Brett Kenny away to Miles. And Bowie flying down the wing. Miles not held and now dumped to the ground. Going to play the ball minus a boot. Kenny. Lewis. Murray. Gary Jack. Ball's come loose. The referee coming in to adjudicate. It's going to be a Great Britain ball. Goodway. Noble. Burton. Back to Noble. Adams. Little kick and a chase through. Getting back there is Wayne Pearce. Jack's got it. Away from Adams. Not by from Schofield though. Good determined run there from the Australian second rower Wayne Pearce. It's Greg Dowling bursting through the defence. Well, I hope that type of defence doesn't persist. Great Britain have defended so well up till now. And that's better stuff. Chris Burton over it. Ousted keeps it in play. Now to Lewis. That torpedo pass of his finds Murray. Lewis not getting a good bounce. Fullback Mick Burke. So in the first half, we've had the only try of the match scored by Wally Lewis after 21 minutes. Ross Conlon has landed 2 goals from 3 attempts, and Mick Burke has landed 1 out of 2 for Great Britain. And that gives Australia a lead approaching half-time of 8 points to 2. Schofield, Adams. This is good way. Joe Lydon's kick is across field. Conlon midway between the quarter line halfway to Gary Jack. To the blind side, but they had nobody there apart from Needling. And so that's the half-time score. Australia go in at half-time, a lead of 8 points to 2.
There were 7 scrums set down in the first half. Only 2 decided, and they both went with the head. While the penalties favoured Great Britain narrowly 10-7. The errors very even. Australia 19, Great Britain 18.
Ray Shrimpton blows the whistle to restart play. And there are no changes to either side, bearing in mind that 20 minutes into the game, the Great Britain side lost their halfback Neil Holding. He was replaced by Joe Lydon. That's the only change in the game. And with the scrum going down, Mike Stevenson, that change by having Holding off the field has been quite influential, I think, on some of the play that we saw in the first half.
It certainly has, and of course I think you'll find that we said earlier that Holding has been the start of the tour so far. Myler, I think, made a mistake in putting Joe Lydon straight to the scrum base to feed. To my knowledge, Lydon has never played the halfback position. I wouldn't be surprised to see Des Foy going to feed in the scrums in the second half.
So Great Britain, having found touch from the scrum penalty, are 12 metres inside their own half. Crooks taking a good head-on tackle there by Pearce, who held him up long enough for Price and Niebling to arrive on the scene. Schofield, he's acting a dummy half. That's Foy. Well, strange to see the centre Schofield in there. He may well have been moved into the scrum base to feed the scrums. I noticed that Joe Lydon is standing out in the centres. Ellery Hanley. Mark Murray going low. Pass to Drummond. Ball kept in play by Conlon. Greg Dowling. Pearce. Bursting up to halfway. Now Canescu. Murray. Lewis. Miles. Lewis around. Pass Kenny to Jack. Jack up to halfway. Infield to Bowstead. The Australians were standing so deep that even though the Great Britain defence had a long way to move up, they were always able to get across and cover. Here's the ball lost by Great Britain, and Australia have got it. Murray's got it. In the first half, there were quite a number of good tacklers for Great Britain, and you see that the hooker Brian Noble led them. Prop forward Lee Crooks is doing his job. He's done a good job, Lee Crooks, when he's had to take over the prop forward role on this tour, and he hasn't let his side down. Australia on the attack and up to halfway. Lewis. Miles. Beautiful little switch. Miles taken and a good tackle. Keith Mumby. Now Murray. Back to Lewis. Murray. One tackle to go for Australia. Lewis. Now let's see if Great Britain can weather this. Ross Conlon going up very high, but the ball came down to Drummond. And so the Australians will go on the defence. And in the first half, their top tacklers were Ray Price and Conescu and Dowling. Stan pretty unhappy with that penalty going against the Australians when they appear to be in a good attacking position. There's Drummond for Great Britain on his own quarter line. In fact, he's lost the ball. Pearce came up with it. So Australia with a good chance now. That's Kenny. Drummond receiving attention as Australia are on the attack. Boasted, Lewis weaving his way through. Conescu. From dummy half, Gary Jack, the fullback. A try here to Australia is going to make things very difficult indeed for the Great Britain side. 4 metres out, Conescu. Murray on the burst is Niebling. He's dropped it. Line open, he was through. Chris Burton. And you'll see Niebling was put nicely into the gap, but he was just hit in that tackle by Lydon to lose the ball. Play about 18 metres out from the Great Britain line. So 8 points to 2 was the half-time score, and Australia still leading by that. Long driving kick downfield. Boasted is back. Up to halfway. It's pretty difficult for Great Britain to get back into it, Mike, when they've had the ball but down in their own half.
Yes, the big problem, of course, now is the fitness. The Australians generally classed has been a lot fitter than Great Britain. In the last 20 minutes are going to really tell for the Great Britain boys.
Now here's a chance. It's gone out to Miles. He's got his winger Conlon coming in field. Conlon, full-back Burke to beat. Back to Miles. This is Niebling. Redcliffe, second rower, playing it inside the quarter. Lewis tries the pressure kick again. It's fairly deep. Hanley's dropped it. It's a try. No, Murray's not over the line. It was only the goalpost that held him back. Brett Kenny fires it out. Wayne Pearce, out it goes. Price is over. Well, it's a try to Australia, but I just wonder what Mark Murray is feeling, because he would have actually scored himself had he not hit the goalpost. Try number 2 to Australia, and this is how it happened.
Yes, well, a good bomb by Lewis. It's a bad mistake by the centre, the wingman Ellery Hanley. Had plenty of time to get to this, and a golden opportunity, just saved by the post. Of course, the Great Britain defence all tight, back for the bomb, and a good play by Kenny, moving the ball out wide. Once again, we see Pearce holding himself, and a good dummy by Price, realising that Drummond had to take the dummy out wide. 2 men outside.
He's made many a more difficult kick than this. Conlon, 22 metres out. He's 8 metres in from touch and very little breeze to worry him. Puts it into the air nicely and kicked it away to the posts. From head on, you see the ball is played there by Murray, and Brett Kenny, trying to barge over, was held up but got the pass away, and Wayne Pearce realised that there was a huge overlap out wide, so all he did was float the ball over the head of the inner defence, and while Ray Price had both Kerry Boasted and Gary Jack outside, he didn't need them as he dived over. He's away from the defence. He's got Boasted up outside, a nice little dummy inside, and a good flick tackle there by Joe Lydon. Boasted. Dowling. Conescu set upon. Now Dowling and Crooks are going to have a little bit of a scuffle as play goes on. It's actually Brian Noble. Crooks is now involved. Players across field. And away we go again. Well, that all started with Greg Dowling and Brian Noble on the ground. And the old story, look at referee Shrimpton, he's getting everyone out of the way. He says, get away, I don't want you. But as often happens, when there's a blow-up, it invariably gets worse when someone comes in to lend a little bit of help to a teammate.
Yes, there certainly wasn't much in this. Just those two players, you can see them there. It's Dowling and Noble, and there is a little bit of headbutting comes in here, which becomes a little nasty. And then, as you could expect, players come rushing in from outside, and all of a sudden it's an all-in brawl.
Well, sin bin, two players into the sin bin. We've got Lee Crooks and Greg Dowling coming off.
Probably a pretty fair decision too, because they seem to be the two that were most at fault in that incident.
The ball's coming loose, and that's a penalty to Great Britain. Brett Kenny has been penalised with Ross Conlon for pushing the player away from the ball.
Yes, it is Kenny penalised. Here he is. He jumps high for the ball. He certainly had his eye on that ball all the time, and it didn't appear to me to be interfering, but still the referee was in the best position possible, and there's the very large penalty count in Great Britain's favour, 15-7.
Noble. Schofield. This is Chris Burton making a break. The support got there too late. Well, that's what I call advancing the mark a couple of metres. Adams and Lydon. That's Drummond. Drummond across field, danger. Drummond, a beautiful pass, a good try, a lovely try to Great Britain. Fabulous try scored by Gary Schofield. That was fabulous work by Des Drummond. Setting it up for his setter, and that really was a fabulous try. Des Drummond has brought this crowd to its feet to a man.
Well, you see this beautiful pass here inside, and the man that we've been wanting to see always on this tour, Lydon, beautiful pass here. Drummond, good step, kept his calm, and then got into full gear. Watch the guy go. Putting plenty of pressure through would-be tacklers, and a good pass. And the youngster making the youngest test debut on the Great Britain side. What a day for him.
Certainly is, and what a day for this Great Britain side too, as they're right back into the game. Mick Burke right in front, adds the extras, and now it's a game. We've got 20 minutes to go. And from side on this try, you'll see it go across the back line. And it was Schofield who figured in here with getting this good pass away. It was Lydon who got the pass there to Drummond, and Drummond, sensing the opportunity, ran straight for the post, and he picked up the support running straight to the ball. And here's Gary Schofield knowing exactly where to go. He had no trouble taking the pass, and look, not a hand put on him as he goes under. Schofield, Adams, Burton. The try has done a lot for the spirit of this Great Britain side. You can see them now rallying to the task ahead of them for the closing stages of this game. And I think there's a definite sense out there that they're not out of this game now. They're only trailing by those 4 points.
Yeah, they certainly are. It's what they needed. They realised a lot of pressure. It's the first time, really, they've had the break. And it's the first time that the Australian defensive pattern has been caught out.
Finescu. Back to Protz. Down to the quarter line. Murray. Lewis. Switch in play. That's Niebling. Finescu, the hooker. Niebling. Lewis. Kenny. Kenny, beautiful step, out to Bowstead for the corner, and he's into touch. No, he's not, he's right. He's running around the defence, and he's going to score under the posts. Fabulous try, Kerry Bosted. And Kerry Bosted now becomes the 4th highest scorer for Australia in Test matches, just passing Keith Holman. And look at those names above him: Ken Irvine, Reg Gasnier and Graham Langlands. And Kerry Bosted in only his 23rd Test. 15 tries for Australia. Here's how the try came.
Yes, but once again, Wally Lewis involved in it, realising the long pass out wide, a beautiful pass. Watch the skills of Kenny here. Stands the man up in the tackle, and a beautiful pass out where the wingman should be all the time. And very fortunate there. Very fortunate indeed, but as a good winger, beautiful try by Bosted.
And here's the other angle. Now, Brett Kenny, it was the timing of this pass. He drew Hanley beautifully, and Hanley left in no man's land there. That's the danger. Bosted went so close to the touch and goal line. For a moment, I thought he'd gone over. But look at the joy on his face as he runs it round under the posts. That's Bowie at his best. Well, what do we say now, Mike? Only a minute ago, we were talking about the renewed spirit in the Great Britain side, but that must have been a crushing blow to their morale now.
It certainly was, and it's always a very vulnerable time for any side. They're still taking in the euphoria of scoring that try, and the defence was left wanting.
Well, the question now is, will the floodgates open? Remember that 3rd Test in the 82 tour? Australia led 6-2 at half-time, ran out winners by an enormous margin in the match. Let's hope that doesn't happen here. Adams. Andy Goodway. Just inside Great Britain's half, Schofield. And a nice run by Burton. Caught by Lewis. He's too strong, Chris Burton. Comes from Hull KR, who won the premiership. Out to the centres to Mumby and Hanley. Bosted with him. Takes him into touch. Just in field. Back to Burke. Adams to Schofield. That's Foy. Out to the centres. Danger for Goodway. Lydon. And into touch.
The official attendance at this month's Test match is 30,190. We'd like to recognize that.
Lewis. Well, I think this Australian side now starting to work the Great Britain defence out of position. More of a tendency with the Great Britain players to stand bunched, and that straight line is not always existent. Lewis. Canescu. Understandably slow, but haven't these Queenslanders combined well in this side today? Canescu, Murray, Lewis, Niebling, Dowling. Superb understanding between them. Burke. Craig Young about to come on. Well, just before the game began, we thought the attendance was somewhere around 27,000. It's good to see it's exceeded that. Just over the 30,000 mark watching this first test. I think the fact that the Great Britain side went into this game with an undefeated record helped them. Here's Wally Lewis stealing the ball. Ross Conlon battling his way to the quarter line. Gene Miles. Here's Australia with a chance. Wayne Pearce getting a pass away. It's been dropped by Miles. Gary Jack across the line, and the play for the knock-on will be taken. Meanwhile, we've got the players returning from the sin bin. That's Lee Crooks coming back after his period in the sin bin, and the Australian player set off was Greg Dowling. Now Gary Schofield is the halfback who's playing it. Lee Crooks. He'll be 10 minutes fresher than his teammates. Goodway, I beg your pardon, Burton. Adams. Little kick for Lydon. Kenny, beautifully handled. Back to Pearce and Dowling. Lewis. Craig Young is on for Australia. He's replaced Dave Brown. Dave Brown, the Manly Warringah prop forward, off the field. Mark Murray now. So Craig Young is on. Wally Lewis unloading. Brian Niebling across field. Dave Brown showing he's been in the wars out there today, and he's done a superb job leading this Australian forward pack. Here the Australians attacking though, and Drummond making no mistake. Caught by Young. That penalty had to go against Wayne Pearce, even though he was protesting about it. It's his responsibility to get clear.
Yes, it certainly is. Pearce going in to make this tackle on Drummond, and the referee obviously calling for him to get off the player. He doesn't do so, and that's the reason for the penalty, holding him down.
This is Des Drummond. Adams. Schofield, a little kick over, and a penalty. Late tackle, actually a trip.
Here's the little kick from Schofield. Watch him, he retrieves the pass now. Little kick over, and there's the kick. The little trip went out, and the penalty. And 18-7, and they've been 8-0 in the second half in Great Britain's favour.
Great Britain now with a chance. They've got David Hobbs out on the field, and he can't pick up the ball, which is loose. He's got it now, and it's a knock-on. So number 15 is on in the front row in place of Lee Crooks for Great Britain. Can't mistake his clean white jersey. Gary Schofield started the game at centre and now is at halfback for the second half. Ray Price. Canescu. Craig Young. Taken by Hobbs, going low. Canescu. Brian Niebling. I think he's justified the faith shown in him today. Been a busy player, Niebling. Meanwhile, Australia, fine touch with a kick just eluding Des Drummond.
There have been 12 scrums put down today, only 6 decided, and they're 3 all, no tight heads.
Schofield's got the ball from that one. Adams, Hobbs. Gary Jack. Hasn't had all that many opportunities today, Jack, but once again, one of the new caps in the side who has justified the faith shown in him by the selectors. Well, there's Ross Conlon. Konescu, Craig Young. Lewis. Dowling. Shrugging out of the first and the second tackle. Murray. Needling. Murray. Nowhere to go for him as he hurdled the players on the ground. Now one tackle to go. Lewis is calling for the ball. It might be a drop goal attempt. Here it is. And he's got it. That's a one-pointer to Wally Lewis. So Wally Lewis just in front of the post, and from that angle couldn't have got it more dead centre. So 19 points to 8, Australia lead. Just on 4 minutes remaining, and an 11-point lead to the Australians. Young. Back to Miles. And not a bad kick by Miles. That bounced just short of the quarter line. And just rolled out over the touchline on the first bounce. Australia still haven't received a penalty in the second half. I just wonder whether there might not be one from the scrum. With a lot of trouble getting it down. Well, there it is. So I suppose the remaining question that needs to be answered in 2 3/4 minutes, can Australia increase their lead? Despite the fact that the Australians have scored 3 tries to 1, one cannot thoroughly dismiss this effort by Great Britain today, and I'm sure that further improvement will see them a big threat in the remaining matches. And there's a penalty, just relieving the pressure for Great Britain in the dying minutes of the game.
Wayne Pearce, the ball carrier here, and there's a penalty there for a Shepherd. The referee adjudicating that another Australian player has got in the way, stopping the tackle. Fine knee.
Well, the whistle goes again. Great Britain wanted to carry on with that second penalty with a quick tap kick, but it was not taken on the mark. And so play that penalty is negated, and it'll be a scrum. Mark Murray bursting away from the scrum base, and he's almost there. Mark Murray has topped off a fine game. For mine, he's been one of the best on the paddock today, and only fitting, I think, therefore he should have scored that try. From the scrum base, here it is.
Well, it's an unfortunate situation that Murray's had a very strong game all day, but here you see him push his way out of would-be tacklers. Some woeful defence there, locked forward, well out of position, trying to go too high, and full credit to him. A good try. He's worked hard for that all day.
Ross Conlon, his 4th goal of the match. So Ross Conlon 4 out of 6. And here's Mark Murray from side on. That attempted tackle by Hobbs was much too high. and he just breaks himself clear of those clutching claws of the Great Britain defenders to dive over. Australia had that very narrow lead at half-time, only to run away with it in the second half, and that has happened again today, and I have no doubt that fitness has got a lot to do with that. There'll be a penalty there for Australia with that high tackle.
And here it is. Watch the high tackle come through. Certainly, he's very lucky that he still has his head on. And certainly off its going to the head. It's being sent from the field for a forearm. The indication from referee Shrimpton was that the forearm was used in that tackle.
Well, here it is again, and here's Konescu taking it in, and watch Hodge meeting him with a tackle.
Yes, it was. I think the referee had a better view of it than I did. It certainly did now look like it was a forearm.
What a pity for Greg Konescu. Just let me tell you that officially there is only 1 second remaining in the game. Only 1 second. And Greg Konescu has suffered what we all hope is not, but appears to be a serious injury to the jaw. And so much so we've got the doctor, the trainer, the reserves, and now an ambulanceman going out. Now there's the kick, and the full-time siren is sounded as the ball is taken up off-field. Hanley kicks ahead. The Australians have got it. And so it's all over. And Australia go 1-up in this best-of-3 series. Australia defeating Great Britain in the first test by 25 points to 8. Man of the match was Wally Lewis, leading Australia for the first time in a test match in Australia. And Australia completing the victory with 4 tries to 1. For Australia, tries to Wally Lewis, Ray Price, Kerry Bosted and Mark Murray, and Conlon ended with 4 goals from 6 attempts, and Lewis also landed a drop goal. For Great Britain, a try was scored by Gary Schofield, and Mick Burke landed 2 goals from 3 attempts. Australia led 8-2 at half-time. They've won the first test at the Sydney Cricket Ground by defeating Great Britain by 25 points to 8.
Philip Cox on the blind side. He's put it up. Mark Ella underneath. Cox has taken it. Caught by Glenn Ella. A chance now for Manly. Walker comes away. He lost it forward. Play on, says the referee. Creera. Manly setting up play. Fitzsimons. Big Peter Fitzsimons. Miller's there for Manly. And the ball again popping out for the Manly forwards. But it's been rucked back by Ramwick. Mark Ella, forward pass from Glenn. The crowd roared.
Yes, and it was the crowd in the stand, of course, which is right in line, and of all Manly supporters. But this Manly side going fairly well. The Randwick side, I thought when they came back to after half-time, they might jump into it, and they did for a short while. But all of a sudden, it's spasmodic football we're seeing from Randwick, playing nothing like the football that they can. Even when they look as though they're going to shoot it along the back line, they either mishandle or can't cope